Hello, Joey. It is time for the 22nd and currently final book in the 20 book challenge. And funny enough, the one that you wrote first on the list is the one that I am accomplishing last. Today, we're going to talk about how to think and grow rich. Now, Think and Grow Rich is a very interesting book. It's a very important book because whereas in some aspects it talks about the guide to riches, it talks about certain things that I've heard before, it talks about things that make sense to me. It also talks about things that I've not heard any of the other books talk about, and that is largely due to some of the stuff that is later in the book. And I will get to that in due time, but there is a lot of information in this book. Per usual, I will go over the stuff that was the most impactful to me on my first listen. And when it comes to listening to this book again, this is probably going to be the one that I listen to first. And I've been listening to these books while sped up, and I'm going to listen to it back at its normal speed to absorb as much of it as I possibly can. So, the first thing that the book outlines as a integral part of acquiring riches is an intense burning desire. It gives an example of a man that of course I can't think of the name of right now, who goes into business with Thomas Edison, and despite not having a lick of knowledge on business school or anything like that, he made it his absolute priority and goal that the thing he will do is go into business with Thomas Edison. Not work under him forever, nothing like that, specifically to be business partners. And so he takes a train all the way to Thomas Edison and proposes that he brings him on to work under him, but this is with the goal to eventually work side by side with him in business. And the reason that Thomas Edison obliges him is because he could see in his eyes the desire he had. And the book mentions that somebody who has the desire for something and is willing to stake everything on it is someone that becomes unstoppable. And so this type of burning desire is something that I think it's pretty fair to say not everybody has. Um, when it comes to this book, the closest thing that I personally have to not just desire, but many of the things that we're about to discuss is the desire to write and tell my story. Um, that's currently the thing that I'm extremely passionate about above all else. And so this this book is not just like all of these. It's not just about the acquisition of money. It's also about improving your life in your interpersonal relationships, the things that you want to be good at, stuff like that. Um, so yeah, a first things first, you need to have something that you're willing to stake everything on. And then the next thing it talks about is having faith. And based on how the book talks about faith, um, I think a parallel can definitely be drawn to calling it confidence. So the belief in yourself that you have the chops to do it, you have the chops to do it now, you have the chops to learn and do it later. There are many people in this world that essentially, because of people, especially like in the family that are close to them due to other work associates, that believe that the thing that they perhaps want to do more than anything that they are not cut out to do. And so faith is extremely important, because if you do not believe in yourself, then there is potentially nobody who will. And so you have to make sure that once you've set your mind to the thing that you want to make your life's vocation, that it's not an if. It's a when. It is something that you will achieve. It is something you will obtain. Um, the book also talks about, and I'm going a little bit out of order here. Um, the book also talks about persistence. Now, this is something that the some of the other books in their own way have mentioned as well. Excuse me. Um, Persistence, or the lack of it, is one of the main killers of people's passions and the acquisition of money, because the majority of people are quick to give up. And I would say that I'm not different in that regard. Unfortunately, that's something that uh, I'm going to have to change within myself. Um, but the the lack of the either desire or ability to stick things out through thick and thin is not only a huge reason as to why, say, your company might fail, you don't see through to the things that you're passionate about, but also the one of the common things that'll break apart like a marriage or something on those lines. So the persistence that you simply because you lose at something, you lose at your job, because you get turned down by your desire to, say, become an actor or a singer, you're not a failure till you throw in the towel once and for all. Um, so this is where it's important to understand what failure is. If you don't succeed immediately at what you're trying to do, so the book brings up Ford many 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 times. Uh, Ford had to fail in his desires and designs of his automobiles, but it was through his persistence that they were eventually designed the way that he wanted them. So I think it was specifically an 8-cylinder engine that Ford told his designers to be able to design, and they told him, well, it's just simply not able to be done within one engine block. And he said, do it anyway. Um, and it took them around a year to find the design that would make the cut. And that's the thing about persistence, is that you can liken this to anything that takes persistence. But for example, working out, the persistence to just keep on doing the thing that will eventually render results eventually does. Um, so when it comes to working out, for example, if you want to reach a certain strength, if you want to reach a certain muscularity, it takes, especially in the beginning, a lot of time, because the beginning is slow and you're not seeing your results. And so it is that persistence to be willing to keep on pouring in the time and genuine energy to try and accomplish that. Um, there's also um, many of the final chapters are talking about some of the main killers of people's guide to riches and whatnot. And there's upwards of 30. But the one that was the most impactful to me was indecision. indecision, procrastination, etc., is what kills many people's wants and desires at the front door, and it is a huge killer along the way to what somebody wants. And so I know within myself that I've been very indecisive on many things for a while now. And the thing is that you have to be willing to do something now. You can't wait for the perfect circumstances to do something, because if you are somebody who is marred by indecision or procrastination, then, like me, then essentially what ends up happening is you keep on spinning your wheels. And what we have to do, rather than making excuses as to why we cannot do something, we need to make excuses to do something when there's problems in the way. And this mixed with persistence is an extremely powerful formula for reaching your goals when you have problems in your way, and you do not let that be like, oh well, can't do this now. It's like we are going to make the problem the path. We're going to either go over the problem, around it, or we're going through it. Um, so yeah, this is a very important realization. The way that this affects everybody. Everybody has had a problem with it at least at some point in their life. Um, but the thing you must protect from is having it be something that affects you. And then the book talks about autosuggestion, which is the idea of a taking a thought and reducing it to something on paper or something you said out loud. And the importance of this is that, and I've never done this long enough to feel the effects of it, but what the book says is that um, the ability to take a a thought from your imagination and put it into a physical format, whether that be on paper or say you say it or whatnot. This is an extremely important step to repeat, because we are the human mind is so powerful that if we think of negative things, if we think we're going to get sick, then we will. That's why placebo pills can work when it comes to curing people. On the flip side, if we earnestly believe that we are going to obtain what we're going to obtain, and that's mixed with a healthy dose of persistence, then you will achieve what you're trying to achieve. Um, and so I think that's extremely important. I'm gonna have to figure out ways to incorporate auto suggestion for myself. Excuse me. It's 5 in the morning. I'm sleepy. um, yeah, so there's that. Uh, it also talks about um, the brain and the sixth sense. This is a part that I'm definitely gonna have to listen over again. It's talking about um, how so many people's good ideas come just as a, in quotation, hunch, um, and how uh, people's brains can communicate without talking, essentially. This chapter is quite the difficult one to chew on, so I don't have a whole lot to say on it right now. Um, yeah, because it's a little bit more confusing than the rest. But with that being said, um, this is a very important book. It's one that I'm essentially going to immediately start re-listening to, but I've been playing it at 50% extra speed, and I'm going to listen to it back at its normal speed and try to really absorb it, because the thing is that I've been doing these books to pay off the truck, and while of course I've been trying to absorb all that I can, due to the situation that I've put myself in, where I'm trying to get all of these books done within, say, like an 8 month period, which is entirely my fault. um, I've not lended myself a great amount of time to actually absorb them all that well, and so I'm going to change that. I'm going to start listening to them back at a slow pace, and I'm going to really, really stick to one for a while, absorb everything that I can, and then move on to the next one that I think will be the most impactful for me at the time. So, with that being said, thank you very, very much, Joey, for the opportunity to read all these. Uh, it's such a blessing that you gave me this list of books all the way back when we lived in Oregon for me to read, and then you used it as a way to allow me to pay off the truck, which has been oh so important to me, being able to make money. Um, so I'm forever grateful for the opportunity that you've allowed me to express myself and learn with. So thank you extremely. Thank you very much, Joey. I do appreciate it a ton, more than I can say thank you for 100 times. And with that being said, I will hopefully talk to you about this book and all the others before too much longer. Peace.